All right, let's jump right in. The date is April 15th, 2026. You know, sometimes the best way to really get a handle on what's going on in the world is to just hit pause. Take a look at a single 24-hour period. And well, today is one of those days. It's absolutely packed with high-stakes diplomacy, big policy changes, and some serious economic shockwaves. And it all kicks off with a pretty somber anniversary.
So today, it's been exactly 4 years since the Sudanese civil war began. And UN officials, they're not mincing words. They called it a grim and chastening reminder of the world's failure to stop the fighting. I mean, that's just a heavy backdrop for a day that's already completely wound up with tension.
And even as that tragedy continues, the world's attention is being pulled hard toward the Persian Gulf. There's a crisis escalating there that's demanding everyone's focus right now. You've got two major powers locked in this incredibly dangerous stare-down, and honestly, it feels like they're on a collision course. Which brings us to our first major story, the razor-thin line being walked between the United States and Iran. A very fragile peace is just about to run out, and pretty much the whole world is holding its breath.
And this timeline, wow, it really lays out the insane pressure. It's like a geopolitical pressure cooker, right? The ceasefire that's been holding things together, it's about to end. Today, the U.S. starts a maritime blockade of Iranian ports, which, let's be clear, is a major act of economic warfare. The only little sliver of hope is that new negotiations are supposed to happen in Pakistan, but that's still 48 hours away. A lot can go wrong in 48 hours.
And we're not just talking about economic pressure here. The U.S. is backing this blockade up with some serious military muscle. Thousands of extra American troops are being moved into the region. It's a crystal-clear signal to Tehran that the stakes are unbelievably high. Of course, a move this big sends ripples everywhere. China immediately condemned the blockade, calling it a threat to global shipping. And at the same time, you've got Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Washington trying to put out another potential fire, hosting talks between Israel and Lebanon, though a real lasting deal there still feels pretty far off.
Now, this whole situation with Iran isn't just happening out of the blue. It is a key piece of a much bigger, much more assertive strategy being run by the Trump administration, and they're making major moves, both overseas and right here at home.
This right here, this shows you the shift perfectly. Secretary Rubio is rolling out this new doctrine called trade over aid. So what does that mean? It means the U.S. is basically saying we're moving away from traditional humanitarian aid and focusing on one-on-one trade deals. This completely changes the game for how America deals with everyone, from small developing countries to huge rivals like China. And you have to see the Iran blockade through this lens. It's all part of the same strategy.
Meanwhile, back in the States, the administration is making equally big waves. The Department of Justice has started to review convictions from the January 6th Capitol riot. Now, is this just a straightforward review of justice, or is it a political move? As you can imagine, the country is intensely divided on that one.
And then there's this. Get this, at the exact same time the president is publicly talking about firing Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed, federal prosecutors just show up, unannounced, at the Federal Reserve Building. Officially, they're looking into renovation costs. But come on, you can't help but ask the question, is this a routine investigation, or is this a very loud, very public message being sent to a supposedly independent institution? But just when you think you've got the pattern down, pure pressure, there's a twist. The administration has, kind of out of nowhere, eased some financial sanctions on Venezuela. It's a really complex, sometimes contradictory playbook that definitely keeps both allies and enemies on their toes.
So, with all this high-stakes political drama swirling around, you gotta wonder, how is the world of business and finance reacting? Let's take a look at the economic side of these power plays.
So you'd think with all this going on, the markets would be panicking, right? Nope, it's the complete opposite. Wall Street is actually betting on peace. The S&P 500, which tracks 500 of the biggest companies in the U.S., just smashed its all-time record high today. Why? Well, it seems investors are optimistic. They think this high-pressure strategy with Iran is actually going to work and force a deal. It is a huge gamble. But for right now, Wall Street is buying it. Now, while Wall Street is celebrating, a totally different kind of power is being challenged in the courtroom. And it all comes down to this idea of monopoly power. That's when a single company gets so big and so dominant that it can basically harm consumers, usually by jacking up prices however much it wants.
Well, today, a jury decided that Live Nation and its company Ticketmaster abused that exact power. The verdict? Guilty of using their monopoly to rip off customers. I mean, if you've ever tried to buy a concert ticket and just felt totally fleeced by fees, this ruling is a massive deal. A landmark moment for sure.
Okay, so away from all the immediate crises and court cases, today was also about looking forward, planning for huge future events, and celebrating some new milestones that really point to where we're headed.
The FIFA World Cup is coming to North America this summer, and the security planning for it is just immense. Today, you had the FBI and a special White House task force up on Capitol Hill, briefing the Senate on everything from stadium security to the very real threat of unauthorized drones.
Okay, this is just awesome news. In what is a massive step forward for women's sports, a huge new media deal was just announced. The National Collegiate Women's Rugby Championships are now going to be broadcast in more than 60 countries. That's how you grow a sport. That's how you build a global fan base.
And finally, here's a small detail, but I think it says a lot about the world we live in now. If you're flying out of Singapore's famous Changi Airport, you're now limited to carrying just 2 power banks. It's such a tiny rule change, but it really reflects our total dependence on technology and all the new little safety challenges that come along with it.
All right, let's pull all of this together. After everything we've seen, what does this one day, April 15th, 2026, actually tell us about the world right now?
So what did we see today? We saw a day of incredible tension, right on the brink of conflict in the Persian Gulf. We saw a really bold and maybe unpredictable new American policy playbook in action. We saw markets making huge bets on that risky diplomacy. And at the very same time, we saw society getting ready for the future and celebrating some incredible new progress.
So what you're seeing is a snapshot of a world that's right on a knife's edge, teetering between conflict and optimism, between the old rules and new ones being written right before our eyes. And it all leads to this one final, really important question. If one day can hold this much change, what in the world is tomorrow going to look like?